The movie begins in a diner where a young man named Bear Bailey, who is practicing how to confess his feelings to his childhood friend and longtime crush, Nikki Freeman. He rehearses his speech with a waitress, and she finds his words very sweet. But Bear's best friend, Ian, thinks the speech sounds cheesy. After the waitress leaves, Ian tries to give Bear advice on how to impress Nikki, but Bear doesn't like his ideas and ignores them. Bear only wants to spend some quiet time alone with Nikki. But later that night, they are all supposed to go to a trivia night together with Ian and their other friend, Sarah. When Bear returns home, he discovers that his cat, Sandy, is dead after accidentally getting into his oxycodone pills. Heartbroken, he places her body in a garbage bag and then goes to his room, where he breaks down crying. Later, Bear scrolls through Instagram when Nikki suddenly calls him. During their conversation, Nikki tells him that she plans to quit their job soon. While talking on the phone, she accidentally drops her crystal necklace into a sewer drain. Bear hears everything and feels bad for her. Wanting to cheer Nikki up, Bear quickly goes to a shop to buy her a new necklace. While there, he also notices something called a Wish Willow and decides to buy it too. Later that night, Bear meets Nikki, Ian, and Sarah for trivia night. The group spends time drinking at the bar before finally leaving. Afterward, Bear drives Nikki home. On the way, he wants to confess his feelings to her, but he becomes nervous and awkward. He accidentally calls her Freaky Nikki, a nickname she hates. Nikki then directly asks Bear if he likes her, but he panics and denies it, saying they are only good friends. After Nikki goes inside her house, Bear takes out the Wish Willow and wishes for Nikki to love him more than anyone else in the world. Suddenly, Nikki comes back outside and offers to go home with Bear. She admits she feels emotional because her father is dying of cancer. When they arrive at Bear's house, Nikki asks him to sleep with her. The two begin kissing, but suddenly Nikki pulls away in fear, claiming she sees something standing behind Bear. She starts crying, and Bear comforts her. In the end, they both fall asleep separately. During the night, Bear wakes up and searches online to see if the Wish Willow actually works. He reads different comments from people. Some users say it is completely fake, while others claim it really works. When Bear returns to the room, Nikki is awake too. She asks him to come sleep beside her, and the two finally fall asleep together. The next morning, Bear wakes up and notices Nikki is missing from the bed. He walks into the kitchen and is shocked to find that Nikki has taken Sandy's body out of the trash and placed it on the kitchen floor like a memorial. The strange scene deeply disturbs Bear. Nikki then says she thinks she may have taken something that is making her act weird. Eventually, Bear and Nikki officially start dating. The next day, they arrive at work together, surprising both Ian and Sarah because everything is happening so fast. Ian later questions Bear about it, and Bear explains that Nikki's father has cancer and she has been emotionally struggling, so she came to his house for comfort. Later, while Bear and Nikki are out having dinner, Bear receives a call from Ian. Ian tells him that he looked into Nikki's story and discovered that her father is actually healthy. He also reveals that Nikki does not even have a close relationship with him. On top of that, Ian says Sarah once heard Nikki describe Bear as nothing more than a little brother. Confused and upset, Bear confronts Nikki and asks her to tell him the truth about her father. Suddenly, Nikki begins yelling and causing a scene in the middle of the restaurant until Bear finally calms her down. Afterward, the two return to Bear's house and sleep together, but Nikki's behavior becomes increasingly strange, like something possessed her, almost like she is no longer fully in control of herself. In the middle of the night, Bear suddenly wakes up and realizes Nikki is no longer in the bed. He looks around the dark room and is disturbed to see her standing silently in the corner, creepily watching him sleep. Bear nervously asks Nikki to come back to bed, but she suddenly starts crying again. In a strange and emotional voice, she tells him that he does not love her as much as she loves him. When Bear tries to get out of bed, Nikki angrily screams at him to stay with her. As Bear lies there trying to fall back asleep, Nikki suddenly lets out a loud scream in a creepy voice, completely terrifying him. The next morning, Bear gets ready to leave for work, but he is shocked to see that Nikki has completely covered the front door with duct tape. Before he leaves, Nikki gives him a lunchbox and then stands near the door, smiling strangely while peeing herself. Later at work, Bear talks with Sarah while eating the sandwich Nikki packed for him. But after taking a bite, he discovers a note inside that says, "How's the verdict, cat?" Confused, Bear lifts the bread and is horrified to find Sandy's paw inside the sandwich. The disgusting sight immediately makes him vomit. After work, Bear sits inside his car and calls the number connected to the Wish Willow. A company representative answers and explains that the wish cannot be changed or undone. The only way for it to end is for the person who made the wish to die. Things become even more disturbing when the representative suddenly puts the real Nikki on the phone but all Bear hears is horrifying screams coming from the other side. When Bear finally returns home, he finds Nikki still standing in the exact same spot as before. She is now covered in urine, vomit, and feces, creating an extremely disturbing sight. He then directs her to the bathroom to clean up while standing at the door. Later, Ian becomes worried about Bear and invites him to a party to help him relax. Bear plans to go without Nikki, but she becomes so upset that he finally gives in and brings her along, even though Ian clearly does not want her there. At the party, everyone plays a game called Drunk Jenga. Things quickly become awkward when Nikki takes her turn and begins reciting a disturbing version of Hansel and Gretel with incest themes, making everyone uncomfortable. Then it becomes Bear's turn. His Jenga block tells him to kiss the person to your left, which happens to be Sarah. But before he can react, Nikki suddenly pulls Sarah away and sits in her place, forcing Bear to kiss her instead. Right after the kiss, Nikki briefly seems to regain control of herself. In a horrifying moment, she grabs a broken beer bottle and starts stabbing herself in the face. Panic breaks out, and Bear rushes her to the hospital to get help, but for some unknown reason, the hospital refuses to admit her. Bear brings Nikki back home and later receives a text from Sarah asking to meet him. As Bear prepares to leave, the real Nikki briefly speaks again and desperately begs him to kill her while freaky Nikki is asleep. But instead of understanding her fear, Bear simply asks what is so terrible about being with him. Bear then meets Sarah inside her car. Sarah reveals that Nikki and Ian have been secretly hooking up on and off for years, and Ian believes Nikki is only dating Bear to make him jealous. The conversation also hints that Sarah may have feelings for Bear. But before anything else can happen, Nikki appears and charges toward the car, smashes the window, and brutally attacks Sarah. She repeatedly slams Sarah's face against a brick until she is completely dead and unrecognizable. Terrified and in shock, Bear helps Nikki move Sarah's body afterward. Desperate to undo everything, Bear returns to the antique shop and tries to buy another Wish Willow. He hopes he can reverse his wish somehow. But when he attempts to break the willow in half like before, nothing happens because he has already used his one wish. Running out of options, Bear goes to Ian's house and begs him to use a willow to wish that Bear had never made his original wish at all. But Ian does not take the situation seriously. As a joke, he sarcastically wishes for $1 billion instead. Suddenly, piles of money instantly begin raining down from the ceiling, proving that the wishes are actually real. Bear returns home and is horrified to discover that Nikki has placed Sarah's dead body in the living room like a decoration. Desperate to stop everything, Bear tries to convince Nikki to reverse the wish by giving her another willow. But Nikki has completely lost control and plans to shoot both herself and Bear. Suddenly, Ian arrives at the house out of nowhere. Before he can react, Nikki immediately shoots him in the head and kills him. Terrified, Bear locks himself inside the bathroom and realizes there may be only one way to end the nightmare. He first considers shooting himself, but instead chooses to overdose on the same oxycodone pills that accidentally killed Sandy earlier in the movie. When Bear finally comes out of the bathroom, Nikki has already broken the willow herself so that Bear will love her the same way she loves him. The two share one final kiss before Bear suddenly collapses from the overdose. Nikki holds Bear in her arms and nearly shoots herself too, but at that exact moment, the wish finally wears off. Nikki instantly returns to normal and looks around in horror at all the dead bodies surrounding her. Realizing what happened, she begins screaming hysterically. In this way, movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.